In this video, we're going to learn how to evaluate fractions of fractions. So here's our first question. What is 1/2 over 2/3 expressed as a single fraction? Wow, so there's a lot of fraction bars there. There's 3 fraction bars in total. That looks really confusing. But actually, it's not as scary as it seems. Remember that a fraction bar just means division. So we can interpret this as the numerator fraction 1/2, let's write that down, 1/2, divided by the denominated fraction 2/3. And suddenly this problem becomes so much more approachable because we know how to divide fractions. All we have to do is take the reciprocal of the second fraction and multiply. So 1/2 times the reciprocal of 2/3. So just flip that fraction. The 3, which was the original denominator, now goes in the numerator, and the 2, which was the original numerator, now goes in the denominator, 3 over 2. And 1/2 times 3 over 2, when we multiply fractions, we can just multiply straight across. So 1 times 3 in the numerator, and 2 times 2 in the denominator. 1 times 3 is, of course, just 3, and 2 times 2 is just 4. So there's the result, 3/4. Okay, so that wasn't too bad, but how about this next question? What is -4 over 5/3 expressed as a single fraction? This time we've got a negative, and the numerator is an integer rather than a fraction. But it's a lot simpler if we just go ahead and take the same approach that we did before. So we interpret this fraction, -4 over 5/3, as just -4 divided by 5/3. Now you might say, but wait, -4 isn't a fraction, and in order to divide fractions, we need both of them to be fractions, like we had before. And I'd actually agree, it's a lot easier if we think of -4 as a fraction. Forget about the negative sign for a second. What's the fraction corresponding to 4? Well, it's just 4 over 1, because 4 divided by 1 is just 4. So we have negative, the fraction 4 over 1, divided by 5/3. So now we're dividing two fractions, and we can go ahead and proceed as usual. Keep the first fraction the same, -4 over 1, but then multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So flip that second fraction, switch the numerator and denominator, so we've got 3 over 5, and we've got a negative times a positive, so the result is going to be negative. The result will be a fraction, and we just multiply straight across. 4 times 3 in the numerator, and 1 times 5 in the denominator. So negative, let's just go ahead and evaluate this. 4 times 3 is 12, and 1 times 5 is 5. So -12/5. That is our result. Alright, on to some more problems. First of all, what is 2 1/3 over 1 1/2 expressed as a single fraction? Well, if we go our usual route, we just interpret this as 2 1/3 divided by 1 1/2. But to do the division problem, 2 1/3 divided by 1 1/2, we need to convert from mixed numbers to improper fractions. So let's go ahead and do that on the side here. First we'll think about 2 1/3. 2 1/3 is just 2 plus 1/3. Now why don't we go ahead and convert 2 into a fraction so that we can add it to 1/3. The simplest fraction for 2 is just 2 over 1, because 2 divided by 1 is 2. 2 over 1 plus 1 over 3. But hang on a second, in order to add fractions, we need the denominators to be the same. And right now, the denominators are not. There's a denominator of 1 and a denominator of 3. But that's okay, because we can re-express this fraction 2 over 1 as an equivalent fraction with the denominator 3. All we have to do is multiply by 3 and 3 on top and bottom. That way it's like we're multiplying by 3 over 3, which is just like multiplying by 1, so it doesn't make a difference in the actual fraction, we're just expressing it differently. So numerator 2 times 3 is 6, denominator 1 times 3 is 3, so 6 over 3 plus 1/3. Just a quick sanity check, is 6 divided by 3 equal to 2? Yes it is, so that is indeed equivalent to 2, so everything so far so good. And we can just go ahead and add these two fractions. Remember, to add fractions with the same denominator, all we have to do is add across the numerator. So 6 plus 1 is 7, and then we've got over 3 as our denominator. So 2 1/3 is just 7/3. And then we want to divide by 1 1/2. 1 1/2 we also have to convert to an improper fraction. Let's do that again on the side here. 1 1/2 is equal to 1 plus 1/2. And 1, an equivalent fraction for that is just, well, 1 over 1. That's probably the easiest one. So that plus 1/2. But we need the denominators to be the same. Right now they're not. We have 1 and 2 as denominators. So let's go ahead and multiply on top and bottom of this fraction to get it to have a denominator of 2. So just multiply by 2 over 2. So not changing the fraction at all, just expressing it with a different denominator. So equivalent fraction is 2 over 2, then plus 1 over 2. Now, sanity check, is 2 over 2 equal to 1? Yes, it is. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. So we're all good. The denominator will be 2, and we just add across the numerator. 2 plus 1 is 3. So 1 1/2 is really just 3/2 as an improper fraction. Now we can go ahead and divide these fractions, which really just involves keeping the first fraction the same. 7 over 3 stays the same, and then multiplying by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So just flip it. Now it's 2 over 3. You switch the numerator and denominator, and then you just multiply straight across. 7 times 2 over 3 times 3. 7 times 2 is just 14, and 3 times 3 is just 9. So there we go. There's our final result, 14 over 9. Next up, what is 3 1/4 divided by -5 expressed as a single fraction? Well, again, we just go ahead and do the division thing. 3 1/4 divided by -5. Alright, so first of all, there's a negative in here, and we know that a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So let's just pull out the negative sign all the way to the beginning. So negative of 3 1/4 divided by 5. Let's convert to improper fractions now. So we'll have negative of, we'll have to convert that 3 1/4 to an improper fraction, but let's just fill in what else we know. 5 is an improper fraction. Well, that can be just written as 5 over 1, because 5 divided by 1 is 5. So we really just need to convert 3 1/4 to an improper fraction. 3 1/4 is just 3 plus 1/4, and 3 is just 3 over 1. So 3 over 1 plus 1 over 4. We want the same denominator of 4, so multiply this 3 over 1 fraction by 4 on top and bottom. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 4 is 4. Sanity check, 12 over 4 is equivalent to 3, because 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 12 over 4 plus 1 over 4. Denominators are the same now, so we can go ahead and add straight across the numerator. 12 plus 1 is 13. So this is 13 over 4. That's the improper fraction for the mixed number 3 1/4. Alright, finally now we can go ahead and turn this into a multiplication problem. 13 over 4 times the reciprocal of the second fraction, 1 over 5, just switch the numerator and denominator. So negative of, just multiply straight across, 13 times 1 in the numerator, and 4 times 5 in the denominator. So negative of 13 times 1 is just 13. 4 times 5 is just 20. So there we go. Negative 13 over 20. That is our result. That's 3 1/4 over -5 expressed as a single fraction. So now we know how to express fractions of fractions as single fractions. And in the future, we'll continue to learn even more complicated things we can do with numbers, including the operations of radicals and exponents.